Alright, so thanks for tuning in to another video of me playing Battlefield poorly while also rambling about a topic that I'm very passionate about. And today we're going to talk about why Americans feel behind. And some of these are probably America specific, and then others I'm sure are more broad than just America. And I myself am facing this. I wouldn't say I'm a failure by any metric. However, I always feel like I could be better and I could do more and I could strive for these other things. And quite frankly, I think it's taking a toll on my mental health, and I'm sure some of you feel the same. Because what has happened is a lot of pressures are stacking against us all at the same time, whether that's financial, social, or psychological, and it's honestly taking a toll. And let's start with the obvious. I've talked about this in previous videos. I don't think things are going to change, sadly. I wish I could give you great news and say, hey, things are going to get better in this regard, and that is the cost of living has outpaced your pay. The things that we need to survive, whether that's paying property tax or groceries or utilities, car insurance, cars, houses, even your phone bill, all of these things add up, and a lot of them are non-negotiables. I can't go without a house or some kind of living situation. I can't go without a phone these days because my job actually requires that I am able to be contacted if something were to go wrong. Insurance, we can't drive without car insurance, and car insurance just gets more and more expensive, and no matter what, I can't seem to escape it. And are we seeing our pay increase at the same rate as these other things that we need to survive? No. And a couple videos ago, I talked about how I think the only way to combat this is to invest, because I don't think we can rely on wages alone anymore. And this really takes a toll on you because if you're in this situation, you can feel stuck. Progress is slower than ever. And to accompany this, another reason you might feel behind is that the middle class that we knew and were told, hey, if you're part of the middle class, that's great, such as affordable homes, you had a pension at your job, college was lower to get into, and tuition was a lot lower. You didn't need as much student loans holding you back for the rest of your life. And there was a lot of households at the time that were single income. Only one person had to work while the other stayed at home, raised the family, took care of the house, etc. And now you need two incomes typically in order to survive in America. That whole middle class stream that we were told that we need to strive for is no longer. Especially in a lot of these major cities. Good luck buying a house with only one person working and getting an income. And that leads to psychological issues as well, because if we compare ourselves with previous generations where they got married at 18 or 20, they had kids in their early 20s, they bought their first home in their early 20s, and had a career that was stable, working there their whole life, getting the pension, and comparing ourselves now with that generation, it can become very anxious inducing and create some self-doubt. I believe my grandparents got married at the age of 18. They were around the same age, and immediately had kids and a house. And I think about that today and I'm like, wow, there's no way I could have done that. And something else that's very different now than it was back then is just the pure amount of choices that we have for everything. When it comes to food, how many cereals can I choose from? That alone, if I walk into that aisle and try to decide what cereal I want, it's not as easy as having three options and saying, okay, this is my favorite of the three, I'm going to stick with that. And I know cereal is a little facetious in this analogy, but you can literally apply that with everything. And more choices, you would think, is better overall. But honestly, I think it also comes with more pressure because we're always told you should get the best deal or you should optimize every little thing of your life so you don't want to make the wrong decision. And that can lead, once again, to more anxiety and exhaustion, just making sure that you make the right choice and try not to make mistakes. My girlfriend always makes fun of me when I try to pick either a movie or a TV show on Netflix. It's really hard for me because there's so much to choose from. And I don't want to commit to something that's trash. Unfortunately, Netflix has a lot of originals that are. So I try to sift through and find something that we both like and that isn't garbage. And having so many choices on Netflix alone makes it really difficult for me to pick something and stick with it. Something else that can make us feel behind is also something that's become so popular and I think will only continue to get more popular, unfortunately, and that is taking on a lot of debt. Debt has become normalized. Now, I'm not anti-debt. I actually think debt has its benefits because you can use debt to help you afford a house. If it weren't for mortgages, we wouldn't be able to afford a house. No one has 500 grand just sitting around and you're like, oh, I can put that towards a house or an apartment or whatever. I say no one. I know some people probably do, but the majority of folks do not. Debt can also be good if you use it as a tool. When it comes to investing, if used properly and used cautiously, it can actually benefit you and amplify your returns if you're an investor. But we all know there's plenty of bad debt out there, and a lot of people in America have it. In fact, America itself as a country was at $36 trillion in debt. That number could be way off now because I might have seen that months ago, and it just rises exponentially. And the fact that it's so easy to obtain debt no matter what you're doing, you could be ordering DoorDash and use debt. You could be using buy now, pay later on Amazon. Everywhere you look to purchase something, you can use debt as an option of purchasing. And having debt, especially bad debt, is like having a weight pulling you in the wrong direction that you're wanting to go. And then lastly, I think the biggest contribution to why we all feel behind is the constant comparison culture. I think social media has its perks, but I'm of the opinion that social media, majority of the time, hurts people mentally more than it benefits them. Everyone is comparing themselves with others that we see online. And whether those others that we see online and compare ourselves with are actually being truthful and honest is a whole nother story. But if we just pretend that they are, us comparing ourselves with everyone else is still not healthy. Because if you do that, you never actually just be yourself. You might actually think you're in a good place, and then you hop on Instagram and you see some kid that's making $20,000 a month, working 5 hours a month. And then all of a sudden, your algorithm feeds you more of these things, and you think, what's wrong with me? Why am I not making 20K a month, only working 5 hours, and this kid is able to do it? And if you just compare yourself with everyone on social media, you will never feel fulfilled with your own life. And this point right here is why I think it's more than just America. Some of these factors are probably America specific, but the comparison culture I feel is worldwide. Anyone can hop onto social media anywhere and compare themselves with other people, and seeing others that are wealthier than them and have a nicer house and travel more and figured out life sooner than they did. And even if it's statistically untrue, it creates a bias making you feel like you're behind the curve. And so what I'm trying to do is just be grateful for what I have and try to make it known to myself that I'm on the right path and I'm doing well for myself. It's easier said than done. I think I'm going to fight it not only this year, but probably the next decade or so. But if I can just switch my perspective a little bit and say, hey, what I see all the time is not really reality, then that might bring me a little bit at ease. And I hope that brings you at ease too, because chances are if you're watching this and you're watching this kind of content, you're already on the right path and you're going to do well for yourself. Because a lot of other people are watching brain rot content right now, doing absolutely nothing, and you're watching something that could benefit you in the long term. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, or if nothing else, you found it entertaining, and I hope to see you in a future one.